Alright. Hey everybody. So, I'm gonna have a patch out. By the time you're watching this video, the patch will be out. That addresses pretty much all of the remaining big issues that I wanted to have solved before I can come to an actual crossroads. Now, there's only three things left that still remain. That'll probably just be side things that I toy around with, or um, or I just go ahead and get in by next Friday or something like that, but these are like low priority. All of the big things that you see here, sorry if there's any typos in this, I'll correct them before I do the official actual post. You're watching the video before I actually posted any of this stuff. Corrected a minor level range issue, which was like the levels were bumped up by 3 levels by accident. This is just a minor thing. You probably noticed it, but just means you leveled a little faster. Maybe you had slightly harder time at first. Greatly reduced obstructive muzzle flash smoke from most weapon fire effects. So, like the double barrel shotgun would like literally smoke screen you. I remember at one point somebody mentioned like, oh, but that balances the double. No, that's not balance in my opinion. That's just annoying. And finally, it's been fixed. Yeah, it makes it look a little bit less. It kind of takes a little bit of the effect out. I tried a few different things, making the smoke really transparent, but I just ended up ultimately removing the smoke pretty much altogether on most of the guns. Um, Fixed enemy path issue on the second level of Warpath. There was a point. There's this one room where there's these 4 pillars, and there's like gating, and the AI thought that they were able to walk through the wall. This is a bug that I noticed while I was watching Victor's stream recently. Yeah, here. I still haven't gone through the whole thing yet, but it looks like I only have a little bit more to go to actually see the whole thing. I haven't watched Sumo's latest stream yet as well, but I like to just tend to kind of go through the streams. It's nice when I have a VOD because I can just watch it at double speed. I still get all the same feedback. I still get to see everything that happens, but it's real quick. Um, Honestly, I really appreciate everybody who has streamed these, even the people who didn't like the game for whatever reason. I really appreciate it because it gave me tons of feedback, tons of things to talk about, tons of things to really focus on and go over, and it's just so valuable when I get to actually see people play the game rather than just see you get to hear what they say afterwards. Just watching what everybody does speaks volumes. Crouching inside a dead body should no longer get you stuck in crouch mode. Yeah, if like if you're inside of a larger dead monster and you're crouching, the crouching trace would hit the monster. It doesn't do that anymore. Cost of crafting ammo boxes has been increased. They were a little bit undervalued considering how valuable they are. It kind of makes sense that they weren't at their fair market value. Let's just say that. Adjusted the values of crafting various blueprints items. Yeah, like the more common blueprints that you see in the game, that are more commonly used, like the turret, the bulwark shield, stuff like that. They weren't at fair market value either because they were basically the same price as everything else, and yet they're probably the most commonly used items in the game. I just raised up to what they should probably be. Although I may have overdone it. I don't know. I guess I'll just have to see. General Pass remove many locations in Power Node battles where enemies cannot reach the player. And I guess in future iterations of Revulsion, maybe if I do Revulsion 2, I'm going to talk about all that in a little bit. I'll make it so that the monsters AI is a bit more complex, so that they can technically reach you no matter what, no matter where you are. Kind of like the Doom 2016 enemies. If you jump on top of a ledge, they'll jump right up the same fucking ledge and try to get you. Um, Text is now properly displayed to show what items you gain from mission rewards. So now you actually see obtained this, obtained that when you collect your mission rewards. Bulwark shield no longer spawns in the ground or inside of objects. It'll always spawn on top of them. So like if you're crouched down, the shield won't spawn in the ground. Tooltip system now properly compares specials and boosters. So for a really long time, I don't even know if a lot of people noticed this, but you know, you might compare like you know, your recall with your orbital drop, and you wanted to see like the difference between the two of them, and it would compare it to the booster instead, even though those are specials. That's fixed now. That's no longer a problem. Provided more room for description text in all tooltips. Some of the tooltips, for some reason, just um, they they kind of blend in a little bit, so they just give them a little bit more space. Repairing damaged armor advancements now works correctly. The advancements for repairing worn armor, enhancing armor advancements now work correctly as well. There was some other issues too, where like you know if you repaired gloves, you would end up getting like boots or something instead. I fixed all that. Okay, so with that said, this is it. This represents the final, you know, medium bugs, you know, the medium low level bugs that I wanted to address on the game. I've actually gone through every one of them, and I'm now at a point where I have to start thinking about what to do next. And this is actually going to be an interesting discussion because I want to know what you guys think in regards to this, because what I might do is actually do a content patch for Revulsion. Well, actually, I have a few different things I can. I have a few different avenues that I can take at this point in time. Now, sales for Revulsion have gone down quite a bit, but they're still within the you know the the 10 copies a week marker. The only thing is that 10 copies a week isn't exactly a livable wage. It's not exactly something that I'd be able to do if I was to, you know, do my own thing, like move out to, you know, move back to Texas or something like that. There's no way that would be even somewhat feasible, but it's definitely something that I have in mind. But I definitely don't want to be in New York State for very much longer because they tax entrepreneurs too much, and it's fucking ridiculous. I'm not even I'm making like part-time minimum wage job money, and they want me to pay like 40% of my taxes or it's fucking ridiculous. So I gotta get the fuck out of this state. But with that said, I have a few different things that I can pursue. There's a few different possible options that I find can work. Now, I want to know what you guys think. Um, would you like me to work on? Would you like me to work on Revulsion 2? So I have Revulsion 2. I have content patch for Revulsion 1. Now I have another game that I've been prototyping that is a cryptocurrency based game that is a strategy RPG. I know that that would actually make money because it's a space that is highly competitive and there's really nobody in it. In other words, like right now I'm just another face in the crowd working on Revulsion 2 would just be another first person shooter. A content patch for Revulsion 1 would probably be kind of okay, but um working on this sort of RPG that's based on the cryptocurrency space would you know what I mean? I would be like literally one of the only actual game developers in the entire space, right? So that would be the cryptocurrency RPG, and that would mean kind of like ruling that space with with an iron fist, because that would just be like, I have the entire concept of the game already down. I know what I'm doing. Um, Mostly, I'm loading it right now just to kind of show it off. So, and then there's, of course, um, just go back into regular work, working for somebody else. See if I can find work working at a regular game development studio. Now, the game dev studio thing is obviously the most pragmatic of all of these, right? Because I'm taking huge risks with every one of these. But this is definitely, Revulsion 1 is definitely something that I wanted to do, because I've just never made my own game. Not until now. This is it, right? But and now that I've actually done it once, I know that Revulsion 2 will be much smoother. Not only that, but I'll be able to focus a little bit more on the weakest points of Revulsion 1. Now, what are the weakest points of Revulsion 1? The UI and the art style for the game, art style for Revulsion 1, are the weakest points. The presentation of the game in and of itself ended up being kind of, I guess, maybe what got the most criticism overall. When going over, like, when I tried to show the game off, people would immediately, oh, this, like, blocky looking art style sucks, and it didn't really garner that reaction where it's like, hey man, that looks fucking awesome, I can't wait to check that out. It's more like everybody saw the art style and they were either kind of okay with it, or they tolerated it, or they just fucking hated it. You know what I mean? So with that in mind, I know that there are art styles that I can pursue that don't really, that'll probably get a different reaction. I know how to do something that looks a little bit more like the, Stray for Dusk. I can actually kind of do that. I can improve my UI design skills, or I could probably even maybe figure out how to hire somebody to do the UI, and then maybe I can practice getting, a more refined art style, which I have actually learned how to do. I have been practicing on how to improve my art style in general, so I could actually get away from the whole voxel boxy thing and actually make like curves and just have like low poly stuff, which would be much more akin to something, like a slightly different style of Dusk or Strafe. Now, that is actually very possible, and I'd be able to do that. And if Revulsion 2 would definitely be that, where I would go away from the voxely, boxy stuff, and it would just be stylized, low poly graphics, which would be not only that would be better for performance, because the voxely stuff is actually not low poly. It's actually kind of high poly. You know what I mean? It's there's a lot of like polygons in these voxels. Um, so Revulsion 2 would be a complete, it would be multiplayer as well. So you'd have multiplayer, much more refined gameplay. Improved UI and art style, completely from the ground up. I'd be able, since I already know how to do like the more refined gameplay thing, I wouldn't have to spend so much time, prototyping the gameplay. And right out the front door, I would focus on all handcrafted level design with no random gen at all, Dark Souls style. If I do a content patch for Revulsion 1, I'm already kind of researching this. Maybe this would be a good idea to do a content patch for Revulsion 1, where I would add more maps, and then I would I would utilize the layouts and the kinds of things that I would see with Dark Souls, and kind of use that as a point of reference to uh, to to study these kinds of this kind of game layout, and utilize that as sort of a point of reference for me to make new levels for Revulsion, and kind of restructure the game so that it doesn't depend at all on random gen content, and is literally just sort of an open world kind of Dark Souls style experience, where you actually kind of have to traverse through areas, you have to unlock bonfires, you have, well, when I say bonfires, I mean fast travel nodes, and then you have to remember like areas that you couldn't get to, and you come back around, and you take a path and you go through all this stuff, and then you'll get a key card and you'll fight a bunch of monsters or something like that, and then you go back, and then you look on the auto map, and it'll be like all the places where the key card, all the doors that the current key card you have will be able to open. And then, you know what I mean? And I could set that up for Revulsion 1, but Revulsion 1 is still limited to the art style. So, um, new levels and new flow, but no multiplayer, no refined art, no refined. I mean, the art can be refined a little bit, and it would be good practice for me to get the level design and everything like that. But the problem is that if I go with Revulsion 2, I can't do the game dev studio thing, right? So there's no pragmatic. This is like literally. This would mean uh, this would mean not making money for a while and being broke as fuck for an extended amount of time, like another year. And I don't know if I'm up for that. That's pretty rough. With the crypto RPG, given the current space and everything like that, even if you don't believe me, trust me, I know for a fact this would pay off. Um, because there's just no competition in the space. There's nobody actually there's nobody actually doing something like this. There are risks in terms of like maybe being able to find, getting the Unreal 4 engine to communicate properly with, um, the Unreal, the blockchain and all that stuff. But doing something along these lines, where you have a game that's kind of like this, this is making this like a cross between like RuneScape and have it be a completely on-chain game would just be like that would be absolutely insane. Almost guarantee you that once you actually see this in action with an actual prototype, it would be the direction that would be this space. That would be this kind of game would be the way you would ever be able to make a game that works on like with the cryptocurrency type stuff, and actually have it work and be like totally within this. It would just own up to all of it. It would be the perfect, well, it would be as close to as perfect as far as I can tell right now, um, style of game for the medium, right? For the cryptocurrency medium. Now, the interesting thing about the cryptocurrency RPG thing is that since it's not a real game and it's not really money, most people probably won't take it very seriously if I did it as a hobby on the side. So I could probably do that and get a job at the game studio, and then just have this on the side as my own little like hobby thing, right? Even though I know for a fact it would be the way to go. As far as like making money, it would be much less risky. But I really like making first person shooter. And there's no way I can do these things and then have a pragmatic backup with a game, try to get a game studio job. So, should I which I don't know. I don't know at the moment what to do next. There's a lot to think about, but these are the options right now. Um, there is kind of an argument to be made. I mean, if Revulsion starts selling really well, like if it starts selling like 50 copies a week instead of 10, oh, okay, never mind then. You know what I mean? Like, then fuck, these other two things don't need to happen. I'm fine. Like I could just, it'll be Revulsion 2, fucking everything. I'll even hire people and stuff like that. But but as it stands right now, I'm sort of wondering like what I could do. I guess I could say there's an argument that I can do Revulsion 1 with the new flow and the new level type stuff, experiment with that, get that, refined and make it feel good. And then take the knowledge that I learned from doing that style of level, the Dark Souls style level flow and getting it to feel right and applying all of that and just go right into Revulsion 2 with a full understanding of exactly what I need to do, all the things that I wanted to refine, all of the things that I think would work better. Because I learned a hell of a lot working on Revulsion 1. And just doing this content patch would be super good for just getting the odds and ends together in terms of like what would be the perfect level type, like how the level structure, um, in combination with everything. Like as far as I can tell, well, I don't know. You know what? I don't know what to do next. I haven't really thought about it enough. Any feedback, any ideas on the direction of things? Like, and I know a lot of people are still they don't understand why this would be good, and it takes a lot to explain this why this would be good, but it would be basically possible to generate a MMORPG with microtransactions where it would just be me. I would be the only one. It would be ridiculous. Pulling pulling this off would be it would be a world's first. I'd be the only one in the space. It would be so stupid. Oh my god. Oh, all right. But and I would be able to just probably get a regular job, a regular game studio job, and since everybody's so busy underestimating this, it would probably just fly completely under the radar. Oh, oh man, it's great. But I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna put up the latest build with all of these fixes in place, and I'm gonna put this video out. And this is just my thoughts on what to do. I mean, the content patch could probably be done fairly quickly, and you'd get these sort of like open-ended style levels. I wouldn't have as many bosses. What I would end up having is just fights. There would be basically power node battles, or something along those lines. So you'd have, not necessarily lock-in battles, but you'd have, your power node battles. And maybe I would come up with a boss or two. Bosses really good. Having a decent boss takes a lot of work. But you would end up with these kind of like, you'd be able to go over around here, and then there would be like, you could unlock something over here, maybe find a key, and it would kind of be like really big Doom maps. Now, here's the thing though, really big Doom map where you're constantly searching where to go next and stuff like that, that may not be as good as it sounds. I mean, in the terms of the Dark Souls stuff, it's still very much a linear path because you come out. I mean, you have the ability to go this way first. You can get like a blueprint for a gun over here, and then but this is a dead end because you can't unlock this until you've gone all the way around and kind of completed this area, and then now you have a bonfire that's a little bit closer so that you can get to here, and then you can do the boss fight. You know what I mean? It's like you have much less travel time to go from this bonfire all the way around to over here. Like having this sort of level design in Revulsion would probably be pretty interesting. It would definitely be different. It would be the only first person shooter that I know of that does this, where it's literally just Dark Souls, where it's literally doing exactly what Dark Souls does. Now, I've explained before in the past that this is this is what the game was originally supposed to be, and when I saw people getting lost and having a hard time, I ended up kind of spooking myself into backtracking and not going this route. But this would be it. Now I know how to pull it off. Now I know how I would be able to actually do it on a technical level and make it happen. You know what I mean? Uh, so it is possible that maybe this would just be a good way to go. Like you'd start like I even kind of have like a basic layout in mind already. In fact, what I might do is I make a full layout of the entire world, just in one giant map, just like a full layout of the entire thing. Just just mock the whole thing up so that I can run around in it and get a feel for the scale of it, get a feel for the flow, and you know what I mean? And then I could probably make some videos to talk about that. Maybe that'll help me kind of decide what I want to do. But ultimately, though, a lot just is going to have to come down to like I'm not really sure. Maybe I should just flip a coin or something. I don't know. Um, I don't know. I don't know, guys. Sorry, this is like a long video, but there's just so much on my mind at this point. Now, I want to do Revulsion 2 because I know that I can probably I know that I can get a different art style, and I can kind of coin kind of like an art style of my own. Now that I've done so much more practice with Blender, I've done a lot more practice with pixel art and stuff like that. All right, guys. I don't know. What do you guys have in mind? Like, what do you guys think? Would you like a multiplayer Revulsion with better graphics and a better HUD that is immediately more refined? Maybe do this one content patch for Revulsion 1, see if anything changes. Maybe I could do that. Like, if I finish a content patch like that turns Revulsion into a fucking literal Dark Souls game, like literally, with a bunch of new guns and shit like that, and I'm still selling like sub or roughly 10 copies a week. Maybe that could be the indicator. Like, okay, obviously I'm not going to be able to do Revulsion 2. I'm going to have to just like change my maybe that could be what helps me decide what to do next. I don't know. All right. So, with all that said, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to end this here, but yeah. All right, guys. Like, I hope you enjoyed the new patch. Um, and I'll be looking forward to see if anybody has more to say, and maybe get some more reviews for Revulsion. Maybe try to figure out if I can uh, advertise the game a little bit better so that I can get more attention and see how things go with that. Anyway, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and end this here. Take it easy, guys.